My name's Leanne.
My name's Julie.
And we're Justice Advocates. In the beginning, I didn't use volunteers as much. I was just very concerned about, it felt like I was taking my finger off the pulse of what was happening at the grassroots level. So as time went on, I got to know the volunteers more. I understood their strengths and weaknesses more and was able to work with that and then gradually be able to step back.
For me, it was a little bit different. We had a lot of volunteers in the Illawarra region, so what I basically did was buddied with the volunteers. I shadowed them for quite a few months, followed them into correctional units, and that way I could see what they were doing. For me, they were the experts and are the experts of this service, and I think with that, that's what gave me the confidence to continue my role.
For me, I'm a people person. I love talking to people, learning more about them. Our volunteers are amazing. They have the most amazing backgrounds, skills, life experience. For me, it is just fun finding out and learning more about them. And we do laugh quite a bit. We do have a great sense of humour. I think you have to sometimes in this area. So we do. We have a lot of fun. I quite often will meet up with my volunteers. We'll go out for a coffee and have a good chat. Just get to know them a little bit better, and that can be a lot of fun.
I think one of the best examples of feedback that I've had in my region is that a magistrate actually asked the volunteer to stand up at the end of the day, and he said, "I wanted to say thank you very much, what a great job you've done." And we're getting a lot of feedback from our magistrates and our judges about that, so I think that's a really positive outcome for us.
I get to hear everything about their lives, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, from client volunteers' weight loss journey. I get phone calls. I'm 103 kilos today, Leanne. I say yes, that's fantastic. So you get to hear, as Julie said, a lot of the personal things about their lives, and that's fun.
I think the most important thing is that you must engage with them. Engage them with their personality. They've all got different personalities. You have to be aware and you have to be fairly skilled in the area of saying, some people are very straight, black and white, no shades of grey, and that's where how they are, and they want you to be the same. You have to identify that as a manager, and as a JA, you've got to decide what those people are, and you've also need to make sure that you check up on them all the time. And if you don't hear from a volunteer for a while, it is really, really good to check on them, because sometimes they are struggling in life themselves. COVID, a lot of our volunteers have struggled in COVID and have not engaged with people on the outside. So it's really important that you do that as making sure the personalities of the people you've got stay with you. And I think that the engagement stuff is something that we all need to learn and get better at.
To begin with, it's always emails, text messages, emails, just to find out what's going on. It's very closely followed by looking at my support calendar to work out what's going on that day and what's immediately around me. Then it's followed by phone calls to any of the volunteers who are on that day, just to make sure everything is moving along smoothly. There's constant communication between the volunteers and myself throughout the day if they are doing a support, just to make sure things are, as I said, moving forward smoothly. And in between all that, I have my long list of probably 2 or 3 pages of things that need to be done. And a lot of that's advocacy behind the scenes.
We also have an on-call, 24-hour on-call for our service. So a JA can be doing all those things that Leanne has said, but we also might get a call put through to us from the police station, or an urgent support needed at one of the correctional units for the AVL to go through to court, or a police calling us to let us know the court date is going to be in 3 hours, so we then have to organise our volunteers, or if you can't organise a volunteer, I guess that's when it's such short notice that the JAs step in.
Final question, if you get all police and lawyers in a room, what message would you give them so they can better understand how to support people with cognitive impairment? Education about what is a disability and how to best support these people with disability, and also for them to communicate to each other. They need to communicate to each other because there's a lot of lack of communication between police and lawyers, and it is because they're so busy, and it's been more difficult with COVID because of the situation that COVID has caused. And a lot of the time the JAs are the people that do the
linking between lawyers and police, and that makes many phone calls.
And I think the police and the lawyers are so busy, and it's a very stressful job to be in. And it's a challenge with clients with a cognitive impairment because their disability is mostly invisible. So it's just so important to sort of try and take that moment out to consider whether that client does have a cognitive impairment, because you can't see it. And when you're so busy and in such a stressful situation, it's very easy to overlook that,
and a lot of our clients present really well.
Yeah.
So they might be at a police station until we're actually called and a police officer says to us, look, I don't know, but he just doesn't seem to be answering right. And then they find out that they've got a cognitive impairment. So it's very difficult for the police to identify that sometimes. It's hard for us to identify unless you're trained in that area. So that's why I think education and training for everyone is
Absolutely.
part of it.
And if you're not sure, ring JAS. Ring JAS because, if you just have, I've spoken to many lawyers and many police, and they'll often say, I don't know what's wrong, but I know something's wrong. And you just sort of get a feeling that there's something not quite right. Ring JAS because we can help you to identify whether that client actually does have a cognitive impairment. And we're available 24/7 across New South Wales. So particularly for police support, so please ring.
That was a good plug.